Hey, welcome on, ladies. Today we're going to be talking about how to spot red flags in your affair partner. Now, if you're new to this channel, my channel is here to support women that are going through experiences with married men, affair relationships, or secret relationships, and you're really trying to navigate a way forward. Now, this video is going to be a little bit different. Instead of just labeling all the red flags to look out for, which you've probably watched videos or looked things up on Google around how to spot red flags, it will be things like gaslighting, manipulation, all of those things, not listening to your boundaries. And I want to do this video a little differently today, and that is how to spot red flags in another by noticing the signs that are going on within yourself. And this will leave you in a place where you feel so strong within yourself that you can feel your own internal experiences and trust that that is your guide, as opposed to putting the power in a blog's hands or in your affair partner's hands in the way that they're showing up. And does that correlate with the blog that I read? And this can feel so frightening. But if we can begin to build a relationship with ourselves where we are so fine-tuned in noticing what is going on within our body and the reaction that it's having when certain behavior takes place, then we're set for life. We're set for life in all relationships, because then you're not going to be blindsided. And I think this is one of the fears is I can't see clearly. How do I notice if they're actually going to be hurting me in the long run, or if I'm just being too much, being too needy, or deceiving myself? And so let's go into this video about spotting some of these signs within yourself. I also want to add here that with red flags, some person's red flag may not be your red flag, or vice versa. Your red flag of that's a stop for me in terms of choosing a partner may be someone else's go. At the moment, red flags are unhealthy behavioral patterns in people. But if you think of it, a red flag is a stop sign. A red flag is don't go further. And so, what I want to come back to is you are your own compass here, and you get to choose what is a stop for you and what is a go for you, as opposed to just looking at a blog that you've read on red flags. You get to choose you get to choose what is a red flag for you based on your body's experience. So let's get straight into this. The first one is noticing where you have a heightened nervous system state response. So essentially anxiety, or it may feel like excitement. And when you're either around your affair partner, or you're thinking about your affair partner, or you're just gone away from your affair partner, you have extreme anxiety or charge or emotion or excitement. This isn't necessarily a good thing. This may feel very comfortable because you may have been used to living in an environment where there was a lot of charge in your house, but that's not to say that that is a healthy state to be living in for you to feel comfortable, grounded, at peace long term. So what I would do here is just notice where your body gets into a heightened state. And then I would bring it back down and notice, well, what has caused that? Is it the fact that we finally get to hang out when we haven't hung out in 2 weeks and I haven't been able to contact them, and finally something is happening? The thing is, for you to be in a relationship, you don't want to be hanging on, waiting to catch up. And when you do get a little dose of them, suddenly you're so excited. That isn't a healthy way to be operating in a relationship. You want mutual respect of, does it work for you today? Does it not work for you today? And also mutual participation level. And what I would say in this is if you haven't been able to see him for weeks and suddenly you're able to see him and you're really highly excited or feeling a lot of emotion in that, your participation level, if you were to choose, would probably be so much more. And so, why are you not setting that standard in relationship for this is how much I desire to be invested in my partner and my partner to be invested in me in order for me to want to engage in this relationship? Not to mention all the stuff that he is married and everything like that. I want to take that off the table right now. I just want to see you in partnership and what you really need in order to feel fulfilled in that. The next thing that I want to go over is communication is sometimes easier to keep your mouth shut than to say something. And if you resonate with this, that sometimes it's just easier to not say something and not rock the boat or not make things difficult, or maybe you won't be received, or maybe they will turn things around and you'll just feel silly for sharing your feelings. Whatever it is, if you feel that it's easier to keep your mouth shut than to express, then you're going to enter into a relationship where you yourself feel muted. You yourself can't operate at your full expression because deep down you don't feel that you'll be received at your full expression. Now, in this, you can ask, is this a me thing? Because if you haven't felt safe to speak your truth, then it can feel very unsafe to be able to speak our truth and begin to speak our truth in relationship. However, if you truly believe that they're going to have a reaction around this, then this is something that you really want to look at. I really want you to observe your emotional reactions in this. And I want you to observe your partner's emotional reactions in this relationship. The thing is, often if you are someone that has been drawn to my channel, you may be someone that takes on their emotional reactions as your fault. So you've caused that reaction in them, as opposed to seeing, hey, that's a reaction they're having, and that reaction doesn't feel uh emotionally mature or safe in order for us to come together in a stronger way. So notice the emotional reactions that are going on within them. Also notice the emotional reactions that are going on in you. If parts of their communication over the phone is way things that are constantly making you feel misunderstood, not fully invested in, not fully valued, not fully seen, you're not getting enough in terms of communication, and also in person, this is in itself is, say, an orange flag to look at. It's not a flag to look at, say, if you were in a monogamous or exclusive kind of relationship. It's something that you can absolutely work through. But we also want to look at, if I'm constantly feeling unsafe or unsteady, emotionally unsafe and emotionally unsteady in this relationship, then why? Am I taking on this unsteadiness as my fault that I need to change something within me in order to bring them closer to me? Or is their behavior and their lack of commitment and the fact that they're married and the fact that they're invested in another woman as well as you, while giving you attention, making you feel extremely insecure? And insecure can have a charge behind it. It can have a real judgment behind it. But I want to take all judgments off the table here. If my man was constantly giving another person attention, I would not like it. And so you too deserve to feel uncomfortable about it. Even if he's married and say you're the second person, he's still engaging in you. So the fact that your emotions are intertwined in this, it's valid that you feel really unsteady in this. And instead of beating yourself up about how emotional you're getting, instead be like, okay, this is a flag here, an orange or a red flag here that I need to look at. Is this a stop sign? Is this relationship actually bringing too much discomfort As much as there's a lot of things that you get out of this relationship that feel good, it's also making you feel this way. And so this also needs to be acknowledged. Sometimes we fear acknowledging this because then what? Do we have to break things off? Do we actually have to do the really painful and uncomfortable thing? So it can be really scary to look at these things. And yet, the longer you hold this off, the longer that you continue to compromise yourself, to put yourself and your whole life on hold while you're staying attached to something that is really not serving you. The next one I want to do is I want to weigh up the whole relationship on, this kind of goes back to the other point, is I want you to weigh up the whole relationship on not just all the highs and all the great things that you get from him. For example, he may make you feel super seen, super valued, like you're the best woman in the world. He may make you feel like all of these things. And yet, at the end of the day, you're going home to your own bed and feeling uh like he's absent in terms of energetically. You can tell when someone is present with you and someone is not present with you. And a lot of women in these situations notice that when he's with me, he's with me. But anytime I'm apart from him, I feel really uncomfortable. And this isn't just because you're physically apart, it's also because he becomes, or the relationship itself, I don't want to necessarily point it at him, becomes physically absent. There is a lack here of connectedness while also apart. You don't need to be communicating with your partner all the time to know that if I pick up the phone, they'll be reachable if they're available. And so that there is a feeling that you're feeling and needs to be validated. So I want to make sure that while you're looking at this relationship, often we value it so high as I've never met anyone like him. The feelings that I feel with him are so high, but they're also so low. And that those low feelings also need to have equal eyes placed on them, because this is also a sum of the relationship that you're in. It is very turbulent, and in order for you to feel safe and secure in a relationship, truly we need less turbulence. The next thing that I want you to do is I want you to take, if I was to, you were to imagine the man that you're in this relationship with, and I want you to take away all the words he's said. So all the beautiful things he says to you, all the future plans that he's made with you, all of these things, all the words he has said, all the feelings that he has said, take away all the words he said. Take away his physical appearance and the way he looks or shows up physically. Take away his career success. Take away the money that he has or spends on you, and just look at how he shows up for you. And based on that, how that makes you feel based on how he shows up for you. And that's not just when he's showing up for you. That's also in the times when he's not showing up for you. So say you see each other once a month. If that's really amazing, but then throughout that month you're constantly missing him, that also is the part where he's not showing up for you. And so I really want you to look at this as a whole picture of how chosen, prioritized, and all of that do I feel in this relationship? And I know we're talking about affair relationships right now and married men, but ultimately you're in a dating experience and you're probably seeking a partner, a life partner. And we want to be looking at it from this lens. Is he really treating me in the way that I would want my life partner to treat me? And we have these excuses about, well, infidelity or the fact that he's married right now is the block that stands between us to get all that we want. And how he approaches this situation now versus how he approaches it when he is no longer married is actually very similar. So be careful not to blame the marriage as the thing that's causing him to not show up well for you. And that's not to say that he would be able to show up for you, but he may say, hey, I cannot show up for you in the way that I would want to choose you fully. And that would be painful to you for me to be half cleaning up this stuff while half engaging with you. And so until I clean this up, I cannot engage with you. Going to go clean this up, and I'm not going to be in and out with you through that process because that's too painful on you. You do not deserve that in a relationship where you feel secondary, not primary. The next one is notice where you feel like, that was odd, or I don't really agree with what he just said there, or you said something and you had completely different values. Notice these things because sometimes he can be very convincing and then you just feel convinced through his convincing. But in that process, you're neglecting your own path, your own values, your own sense of truth in this because he's confident in his. And this is something that we can be very attracted to, is their sense of certainty and confidence. However, if you had a or question mark or a I don't know about that, or I kind of think differently, and you don't say it out loud and you just feel it within, acknowledge that. Give it more value than the value that you're giving. This in itself is a red flag. And I'm not saying here's a red flag. I'm saying right now, you're going against your way of thinking, your way of values, your way of seeing things in order to step into his world. And leaving yourself behind in the process. Now, if you said some of these things that you question marked, and then how would your relationship work? It's a beautiful thing to test. But if it would actually be more, if the relationship would actually clash more, if you mentioned some of these things, then that in itself is something to be wary about. The next red flag is notice where your life isn't actually aligning to his. Now, this can be values. Can be things that the way that you see things, or the way you choose to respect or not respect others. It could be your life goals. It could be kids and family. Notice where what you want may not all line up with his, and because of the deep feelings that you have for him, you let aside these things, you push aside these things in order to follow all the good feelings that you're feeling in the relationship, but you're actually putting aside yourself. In the long run, this is where we lose ourselves because we are choosing to go down a pathway that is his path in life, as opposed to honoring our path and seeing, once we honor that, do we actually line up as a couple, or do we disagree on a lot of things? Again, this isn't a red flag necessarily in the person, or it could be because he may be someone that's disrespectful or lies or doesn't tell the truth or talks people down. And this could be something that you really value, to treat people with honesty, integrity, truthfulness, all of that, care, respect. And he may not care too much about this. And then this is, well, would you really want to compromise on such a significant value? Respect in a relationship, truthfulness, honesty in a relationship. Would you really want to compromise on this value? So I leave it at some of these points instead of, well, definitely read through a lot of the red flags that you can see in a relationship or in a partner. But I want you to bring yourself back to, instead of focusing on him and his behaviors, which we can learn a lot from that, I also want to make sure that you come to, what's the experience going on inside me when I'm interacting with this person? Another thing that you could do to help with contrast is to uh, think of someone that you always just feel like is there for you in life, that shows up, that is easy, that there's no real difficulty, and it just works really well. Think of that person and think about the emotional experience that you have with this person, that you just feel safe to call up on them, or you just feel safe to be you, and you don't really care about everything. And then with him, you're trying overly hard to fit into his box. That is an emotional reaction that is going on inside you, that is being reflected through these two different individuals. I want you to notice the contrast there, and then come back to how do I want to feel while interacting with the people in my life? Do I want to feel free to be all myself, to speak my truth and for it to be respected, to have my values and my partner respect these values? Or do I want to tiptoe and mold into sometimes pedestaling my affair partner so that I can fit into his life? I hope that helps. It's a bit more of a unique video today. If you have any thoughts on this or some things that sparked within you, please put in the comments below if you feel safe to do so. We also answer your questions on this YouTube channel, so you can click the link below for more information about that, where you can type in your question anonymously. And then we have a private community where we show up 2 times a week on group calls where we can answer your questions. And then we also have advanced mentorships where you can get support from myself and also my mentor, helping you through this situation in your life. If you're wanting more details about that, find the links below or go on my website, and there's all the information that you need on there. I hope that helps. Bye for now.